Hey everybody, Joy Brooks here with another episode of Email and Coffee. Today I'm very excited to introduce Larry Call, someone I've been working with for the past few months. Larry, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my background is in helping companies get new business, create opportunities, and get new clients. And I've been doing it most of my life. It started in my early 20s. And what I find is that this is really hard for people. And it's not for me. And that's what is called a market opportunity. So I'm in another phase of this right now. The way I'm looking at it is there's this very challenged solopreneur market. And there's some specific definitions of what that means. And the problem for the solopreneur is that they've made a decision that they want to do something special. They want to do what they love, and they're already out there doing it. And then the cold water bucket dumps over their head, and then they've got to figure out, how do I actually make this work for me? So I want to make more income. I want to make enough income to support the lifestyle that I want to have, but I don't want to compromise on how I do that. And that's the dilemma that we're working on solving for people.
Now I'm a solopreneur, but I'm going to ask you, what's the difference between a solopreneur, solopreneur and an entrepreneur, or, just somebody who's a contract worker? Where's the fine line there?
Most people will just tell you it's somebody who works on their own, and I don't believe that. And then there's a lot of people who will tell you it's a potential business owner who hasn't figured it out yet. Mm-hmm. So someone with training wheels on, and that just irritates me. When I hear that, but that's kind of the conventional wisdom around the definition. So that's what it isn't. What is it? It's an individual where the company is inside them. It's already there. And the goal is to bring it out into the marketplace in a clear, compelling way where the right people, and only the right people, hear the almost like the dog whistle, code words, and say, oh, wow, that person is for me. And I want to be around that person. So that's what a solopreneur is to me. People like that are not like an entrepreneur. So what an entrepreneur, and I hear the word all the time, like, you don't get it. You don't understand what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is someone with an idea or a product that they are trying to build into a company. The pathway is different, and it usually involves raising some kind of funds. So when you prove out the concept, you can scale the business with the outcome being a sale of that company, or in major unicorn cases going public or something. So that's an entrepreneur. What's a small business owner? A small business owner is someone who wants to build an infrastructure to leverage other people's abilities and time, because they want to leverage other people's time so they don't have to spend all their time doing the work they don't want to be doing. Mm-hmm. That pathway, in terms of understanding how to build a culture, how to hire people, how to understand the scaling operating structures and all of that, is a totally different pathway and need in terms of the kind of support that you need. Now let's get into freelancer. That's also different. A freelancer is someone who has a skill they want to sell in the marketplace. And all they care about typically is getting a client and making sure that that client doesn't overwhelm them, so they don't have to work until 2:00 in the morning.
That sounds like my current dilemma.
You are moving into being a solopreneur.
Yes.
So you're in that transition phase.
Yes.
Which is exciting to me to see that.
Yeah. It's a different thought process. It's even different when you start networking, because the relationships you're building, you're not just looking for clients. It's not necessarily about sales, although, it is, but not necessarily about sales, because depending on the solopreneurship, you may be looking for partners. Because the model may be that. And so there are different types of businesses that fall into solopreneurship. Mm-hmm. And it's not just intellectual property. I mean, can a solopreneur sell a thing?
Eventually, if they want, but that's not how you start. And that doesn't mean that I'm trading time for dollars. I heard a guy talk about this 2 days ago. So he said, well, a solopreneur is someone who needs to become a small business owner because they need to learn how not to do the work and to be the CEO. And I'm like, no, that's totally wrong. So what I think it actually is somebody who wants to get what they want in their life, which may include adding scalability systems, which may include leveraging other people, but it's not the point and the design necessarily destination, because adding a bunch of people may take you further away from doing what you want unless you like setting a culture and managing people, which I've done and I don't want to do it anymore. But I have something I call Solopreneur Plus. So I'm in Solopreneur Plus. So I have a partner. We have complementary opposite skill sets. We split the revenue and we split the expenses. We have our own companies that are two separate companies, but we're coming together in a really organized, formulaic way in a system that we've developed. And I know how to teach other people to do this as well. And that's necessary for people who have a bigger ambition or a bigger dream. Because at some point, you have to have the full suite of visionary the frontline kind of personality and the sales arm or marketing attractor and somebody who can build and deliver the product and the scalable operating system and product delivery mechanisms. So you don't have to hire a whole bunch of people. I'm absolutely convinced that it's possible, and I've seen it, and I'm in this direction, where you can build a multi-million-dollar company with two people and a small army of supporting freelancers if you have really good statements of work. That is not a company. That's a Solopreneur Plus business, in my mind.
It's very distinct personalities that fall into this.
Yeah.
You can't, the person that needs to be, the person that's very happy following directions and going in the morning or getting a list of to-dos and just getting them accomplished, that's not going to work. You've got to be like wildly driven. What are some ways to tell yourself, is this what I want to do? I mean, you think, I want to do this. But, you may not be cut out for it.
Right.
Or you may be cut out for it, but like you said, you may need to find the accents to who you are because, for example, maybe you're not good at sales. In which case, you're going to need someone to help you out there because obviously you need to get out in front of people and not necessarily sell, but put yourself out there. And if you can't do that, if you're the grand thinker and strategic arm of the business, you're going to need somebody else to be the talker and the communicator. So how do you find this out?
It's such a good question. I think there's only two things you really way of knowing anything. The first way is you experience something. And the second way is you have a profound insight. So knowing things isn't really helpful. So trying to figure out in your head or making lists of should I do this or not, or should I keep my job, or should I go look for a job, or should I be self-employed or whatever? Should I be a freelancer? Should I be an entrepreneur really and try to get money and scale it? Or should I be a small business owner eventually and learn how to do those kinds of programs or take those, one is be like the eMyth approach or Traction. Those are not appropriate programs for solopreneurs, but for someone who wants to scale a business, they're ideal. So how do you know I think you just know it's. I think the solopreneur personality is, in my experience, someone who has gotten to the point in their life where they just say, "It's time to construct a life for me that I want," and the compromise that has to be made is that it's absolutely critical to identify the missing gap skill sets and close them. That is not optional. You have to do it. There's a way to learn how to do sales without doing sales. That's important, but you have to find a way to be out in the market. You can't outsource that. If you are in the solopreneur category, you can if you have a product. Now, to do that and get there means you have to go inside. And that requires some personal transformation development work. And a lot of people don't want to do that. And my comment basically to them is, if you're happy failing and you don't want to get what you want in your life and you want to get a job, skip the personal transformation development work. It's not, it's not an option. So you got to build yourself up, and you got to build up some skill sets, but not all of them. Just anything that's standing between you and where you want to go has got to be developed.
Yeah, it is a personal journey. It's almost like the entrepreneur is one step lower, and they're at some point they say to themselves, it's time to go on that journey. It's time for me to leave this entrepreneurship and turn this into something that's wholly mine. My personality, my mission. It's everything I want it to be, and there are no compromises. So it's not ever a point where you say, this is my mission, but it's never going to work. It's never going to scale out. So I'm going to need to compromise. With the solopreneurship, you say, I don't need to compromise because it's my mission. So if it's not what I want, if this isn't who I want to work with, if this is not the result I want, I'm not doing it. You don't have, you're not being launched and financed by sponsors whereby they say, oh, well, you can't talk to these people. No.
You said something really important to understand, is that the entrepreneurial journey at some point will take you to a place where you have to give up control of your company. Mm-hmm. You end up basically working for somebody else, and that is the investors. Mm-hmm. And you have to be accountable and report out to the investors. An entrepreneur is happy to make that trade-off in return for success. Mm-hmm. On the solopreneur side, what's more important is, as you're building the company from the inside out, to recognize that, and we're going to get into the woo-woo stuff here because it's really important.
All right, I'm sitting.
Okay, can we do it?
I'm settling. I'm grabbing.
Can we do it? Can we do it? I won't get too deep. But when you know what you want and why you want it, and you're fully engaged, and you're not stuck in a negative thought feeling loop in your head. Can't do it. I'm too old. Don't know how. Can't do sales. Why do I have to do this? I wish I could get a job. No, I don't want a job. Those are called negative thought feedback loops. You cannot succeed with that crap running your day. So the woo-woo part is the creative intelligence inside yourself is triggered when you are present fully in the marketplace. It just works. It is a fundamental principle and natural law. And then things start showing up, and that's called synchronicity. Now, this is not manifesting money into your bank account. What it's doing is it's giving you the how to do something over time if you follow these kinds of steps, and delay gratification, accepting completeness, have an open mind. All of that stuff is really important. Know where you're going. Know the skills you have to develop to get there. Execute really well in an iterative manner where you're this is big in software industry. So I'm taking principles from software industry. So you adjust, evaluate, adjust, evaluate, adjust, evaluate, adjust constantly. So as you're doing this and you're moving forward, you create the opportunities, you create the luck. And that pathway is highly personal. And I think it's surprising to me how much time I spend, like in our weekly mastermind, what I call our exponential growth mastermind group, talking about how do we, on the inside, set ourselves up for that to work. I have been an entrepreneurial, because I've been an entrepreneur, solopreneur, and small business owner. I've never been a freelancer. Now, in my small business owner groups, I was in a Vistage group, which is a CEO group. We never talked about anything like this. They would have thought it was crazy if I had this conversation in that group. It was always about, how do we deal with the management team? How do we scale? How do we get more sales? How do we take more time off? How do we get board of directors? All this stuff. It's totally different. Entrepreneur, it's all about minimal viable product, prototyping, getting market feedback and data, figuring out how to get a seed round, angel round, Series A, all of those kinds of things. And they're not talking about this, how do I prepare myself for the universe to help me with synchronicity moments, right?
Well, that's almost the definition of confidence. I mean, what you're, the woo-woo part of it notwithstanding, it's the definition of confidence. And when you're out there confidently, people recognize that. I mean, they like that. And they react to it, and they react to it, positive action, a positive reaction and an action. So, and those that react negatively, those aren't your people.
They're not your people, and they're helpful because they allow you to carve out. So there's a guy who's in our virtual campus program, and I've done some do it with you work with him as well. And one of the things that became very clear was he had a very strong point of view, and he wasn't bringing that strong point of view out clearly enough. So we talk about not chasing clients, but going after clients. Mm-hmm. So he brought the point of view into the marketplace that he wanted to be in, mm-hmm. watched the leaders in the marketplace and what they were talking about, and positioned himself next to them. Mm-hmm. And then stuff started taking off. So he closed a client right away. And then all of a sudden, he started getting inbound conversations, building up a signature event. And then it's a matter of having the mindset to understand, it's actually working. Because then it's like you don't get the next result right away. And people are like, oh my God, it's not working. And then they're over here with the negative thinking and the pivoting all over the place, even though it's like, oh my God, you did figure it out. Just keep doing it. Mm-hmm. But you bring yourself out honestly in the world, you're going to have some really uncomfortable moments where you feel that sense of, often powerful pushback or rejection or fear of, oh my God, they're not going to like me or they're going to judge me or whatever. And we have to get through that kind of stuff. And I liken the solopreneur world more to being like an actor or an artist, mm-hmm. a singer, than being a business person, because the product is us. So the rejection is personal. Yeah. It's not about my widget or my software or my process to do operations or whatever.
Right. It's your baby.
It's inside me. Basically, you just told me by rejecting me, ignoring me, trolling me, that I'm awful. Yeah, that's right. That's what I got to say. I don't care what you think. Keep the confidence. I don't care what you think. And that's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. I'm up late at night. It's very hard.
We all go through this. And if we're not doing it right. So I was talking to somebody yesterday who said, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. And I was like, what are you doing? And she told me, and I was like, oh, you're killing it. Because it was obvious based on what she said she wanted and what she was doing, it was all going to work.
Right.
But all she sees is, oh my God, I feel uncomfortable. And she's trying to avoid that discomfort, trying to separate and get certainty about the future so she feels safe and comfortable again. if she goes that direction, she's going to fail.
Yeah. I'm stuttering. The point is that on this journey for the solopreneur, it's almost like you're shoveling snow endlessly, because as soon as you get past that little bit of snow, there's more snow. There's still work to be done. It's not going to be comfortable. You're not in it. You're not. It's not that you're in it to do excess work and to be working all day long.
No,
it's more like it's a job that no one else is doing. Therefore, there's always somebody out there for you, the right person. They're always going to be out there. You're never going to run out of people because no one's doing what you're doing. No one's shoveling the snow, and it's uncomfortable because it's not like a product, a pair of shoes that you make. Now you're selling them and you could sit back. That's not a solopreneur. You've got to make another pair of shoes. Another person is there needing them, and you've got the only shoe for them.
Yes, and this is a very unique time in history, and I call it the solopreneur era. And what I mean by that is that it is possible to fully be yourself now and create a business of one where nobody else can do it. Because if you do it right, no one else can do it, and you sound totally different than everybody else. I don't worry about competitors because I know I sound totally different. And if I'm on the wavelength with the right people, they're like, I never heard that before. Because they haven't. In the combination, I'm putting it together. So nothing I'm doing is new. It's all based on principles and natural law and frameworks and my own experience, which is really no different from what anybody else has out there, but I've combined it in a way that's completely different without even thinking about it, because I'm just being myself, right? And not willing to compromise on that vision. But I will adjust the product. So this is important. You don't compromise on your vision. You don't compromise on your principles, on your values, who you're going to work with. You don't compromise on how you're going to work. But you do fully compromise on what people will buy from you and how you need to deliver it. And we have done that, and we are iterating constantly. And then you get to the point, and I'm like, oh, they liked that. They bought that. That worked. Is that what I thought they wanted? Is that what I wanted them to want? No. I wanted them to want something different. And they told me with their actions and the money and decisions, I don't want that.
It's a very, it's a very unusual way of looking at business or service rendered. It's very different. We're so used to the corporate concept. We're so used to, you go to the job, you do the work, regardless, period, the end. You get a paycheck at the end of the week, and you do it over and over and over again, and you get promoted. And maybe, you end up in the C-suite and making lots and lots and lots of money, and you have no idea who you are, it's not.
You don't even think about it.
It's not a holistic approach. And being a solopreneur is a very holistic approach. You are what you eat.
Yeah.
And your whole day is pleasurable. You're challenging yourself. It's never like, I'm an accountant. I'm just doing this. I'm doing this for a whole bunch of years. It's the same thing. Yeah, there's no challenge anymore. That's not what it's like, because you're challenging yourself because you're out there constantly meeting people, constantly iterating on that service that you have. That skill set that you have is growing. It's a never-ending process.
There's a very important concept here for people to get into their heads, and that is love the pain, embrace failure. I think the best analogy to explain this comes from the workout industry and sports. The people who are successful at that move beyond what's called first order consequences. So the first order consequence when you start to stretch yourself physically, and get your muscles going, get in shape and all of that, is pain and feeling awful.
Mm-hmm.
That's when people give up, right in that moment. That is called a first order consequence. We have to understand there's going to be a first order consequence in solopreneurship, because as we get out there and change how we do things and follow a methodology like I teach people, it's going to be uncomfortable. But then you get to second order consequences, third order consequences. Now it's fun because you built the habit, the skill set, and you can use it and you can execute, and you feel confident, and you pulled out all this energy in yourself and power you didn't even know was there.
Mm-hmm.
This has been my experience, and I've seen this happen with other people too. But you have to push past that pain. And then what happens is you start enjoying it. And that's what you said. I actually enjoy now failing. I was on a call in a workshop that I do every week on Thursday yesterday, and I had somebody tell me, you know how to do this, and it seems overwhelming to me, and I don't believe I would be able to do it. That's painful feedback. Basically telling me I'm doing something wrong. I felt that pain of that, of, oh my God, I'm letting her down. But feeling at the same time, this is awesome. This is awesome to have that kind of feedback, and then to be able to say, I know that, and I've solved that problem. Here's how that solution looks. But looking back and saying, wow, there's a lot of people who've been on the journey with me and were not able to do some of the things I really wanted them to do because I didn't know how to teach it step by step. And I was just assuming, oh, you can do it because I can do it. I just have to show you.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's a skill set I have that a lot of people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if somebody wanted to teach me how to set up an operational system or an email marketing department for a company, I'd be dead in the water unless they taught me step by step. So this is just the way it works, is we have to be able to look at ourselves and listen to what people are telling us, as opposed to getting defensive and reactive.
Mm-hmm. And, for everyone, it's somewhat of a translation. So what you're saying, I need to be able to translate it to me, because what you are doing for your business or, your mission may be similar to what I'm doing, but the steps I need to take need to be created in my own world, according to me.
Yes.
And that's the difficult part. That's the journey. It's like, okay, I have the skill, I have the desire. I'm tired of the old model. It's not working for me. It's time for me to grow out of it. So what do? Oh no, that's the first step. What do I do? And that's painful. That's the one that keeps me up at night. What you
described, what you just described is where the market fatigue is. Mm-hmm. The market fatigue is with 5 steps to this, 7 steps to that, and a magic doohickey I can put on my website that guarantees conversions. Mm-hmm. The market fatigue is, please let me do this my way. And please don't make me redo everything that I've already done pretty well because your system's better. Mm-hmm. I'm sick of it. Mm-hmm. Don't force me into your scalable model that you started 5 years ago and have now made $15 million from, that you figured out how to deliver at scale because you cookie cuttered it. Mm-hmm. And now you're charging me $15,000 or whatever for that thing.
And
it's
never going to work.
That's the fatigue. People are saying, I don't want that. I don't want that. Well, there's principles and natural laws that apply to everybody, but every situation is completely unique, and the individual is responsible, not me, but I can guide it and guide the decision for deciding how they want to apply.
Right. It's not
those natural laws and
it's
principles.
not an intellectual franchise. What you're doing is helping someone along their journey so that they can identify their calling, Larry Call, their calling. And just learn how to deliver it. And then I don't want to say benefit from it. It's very personal. It's a mutual exchange.
Mhm.
It really is. It becomes a mutual exchange. I'm not just, for example, selling my email marketing skills to someone.
You're not a freelancer.
I'm not a freelancer.
Not anymore.
Right. Right. I may be looking for a particular relationship um, that is, I don't know. I mean, it smacks of being a freelancer, but it's not. It's a whole bunch of steps past that point
Hmm.
because it may be a very long-term relationship. It may be a referral type of relationship. It may be any different, all and many of those things. And the ownership is totally mine and theirs. No one else owns it.
There's a way to evaluate that I use whether somebody's on the right track or not. So I can tell pretty quickly if someone's about to fail or going down the wrong road and eventually will fail, or whether they're going to succeed. And there's steps to this. So the first step is, do they have full clarity on what they want and why? Mm-hmm. And is it written down? And do they have a number that they want to hit? That's first. You have to have that. And I'm not talking about a goal. I'm talking about a life. So what's the life that you want? And the number and the goal. So the goal's not the focus. The focus on what kind of life do I want to have. Second is, that's clarity. The second is focus. Do I know what that pathway is from where I am to that ideal life that I've designed? And do I know what the obstacles are in the way? And do I know what the most significant obstacles are that are causing other problems and symptoms? If somebody can't articulate that to me, I feel like you're going to have a big problem because you're doing the wrong things all day long. So that's two. Third, you need an action planning approach. That's a scientific methodology. That's a way of thinking, of saying, I think this is true. And this is what I think I should be doing. But then you have to visualize and map out, which you can do in a conversation with somebody or even in your own head if you practice it enough. What's going to happen when I do those things? Is it going to disrupt other things in my life doing it? Do I not have the skills yet to do it? Do I not have the resources? Do I not have the time? Is it actually the wrong thing? So I'm solving a symptom, not a root cause obstacle, removing root cause obstacle. And then you really have to get into massive action. And people don't like that because it's boring. So especially those of us who are creative in our thinking, we just don't want to do the same thing over and over again. Well, guess what? You got to do the same thing over and over again. And then finally, you have to evaluate how you're doing honestly. It's called reality-based thinking. You look at what's really happening, analyze it, and then make necessary adjustments when you need to make them. So if I watch somebody, I can kind of see where they are in that process and then back them up if they're missing any pieces, but not tell them what those pieces, the solution of those pieces are. Help them figure out the solution for themselves. Yeah. Because if people are told to do something, it doesn't absorb. They need it's a facilitation to be able to learn how to do something or figure something out that you need to do for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why you say it's the pain is when you know you're succeeding.
Or both. The pain is when you know you're succeeding or you realize you're totally screwing up, which I have gone through this. So I've been in the situation where I'm watching myself think, I'm watching what I'm doing. So I'm like an engaged observer watching myself, like a scientific experiment on myself. And I'm looking at myself and I'm like, you are turning people away because you're overwhelming them with too much information. Mm. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing that my whole life. Mm. Well, you can't not feel something when you have a profound insight about something about yourself that is problematic.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? Fix it. Stop doing that. And if you don't know how to stop doing that or learn how to do something else, find a solution. Mm-hmm. Find somebody who can help you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
come up with that solution. I call those partners. So I like to partner with point solutions, people who are good at very specific things, helping somebody at that next level of skill development. So I can get people up. It's the atomic habits approach, which basically means you improve everything a little bit and you get a massive exponential curve of growth. So you can do that. But think about it like a family physician who's really good and reads all the medical textbooks. But then there's a moment where it's like, oh my God, we need a cardiac surgeon. But you got to know before you pay the cardiac surgeon. And the reason this is so important is what I see people doing, and I know it because I took the arrows in the back, did it myself, is you go pay all this money to the cardiac surgeon and then think they're going to fix it. That's called a magic pill.
Right.
You're looking for a magic pill. It doesn't fix, but you learned how to do the thing they taught you how to do. And then you're kind of like, this is awesome. I love this person. 6 months later, you're no closer to what you want, but you still think that was great, that you did all that work.
The point of pain is almost like the fork in the road, right? So that point of pain is, okay, you know what? This is painful. I'm uncomfortable. Why am I uncomfortable? Because maybe I'm, it's trying me or it's testing me, and I'm constantly uncomfortable at that test point. But it's necessary to do this work, or I'm feeling pain because something's wrong. And that's the journey inside where you say to yourself, I've got to ask this question. I've got to figure it out. So yeah, it's going to keep you up every once in a while. But the point is you're expressing yourself, you're exponentially growing, right? And you meet that person, you have the conversation, you think to yourself, this is great, this is great, this is not great, what's happening? Oh my God, I said something wrong. Maybe you didn't. Maybe, maybe you have to listen harder. Maybe something they said is triggering you. There may be something in that conversation that's a plus that you're taking as a negative. It may be a whole bunch of things. So being a solopreneur is being very in touch with yourself.
Yes.
And that's why it's so fulfilling.
Yes. The pain of doing this, and I've gone through all of it, because I've been doing this my entire life, although I wasn't a solopreneur really until 2 years ago, and then I became Solopreneur Plus, after that, because before I've founded and started successful businesses and done a lot of, I've been in hundreds of different industries, helped position companies in them, get sales, all of this, but this is different. That didn't require personal development. It required hustle and building the right skills. This is a completely inner out transformational journey the last couple of years for me to learn how to do this really well. And it's so rewarding. I didn't know any of these mental models and fundamental principles and natural laws that are like a lattice work, as Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's partner, describes it, in my head all the time. So I'm constantly trying to figure out where does this fit when I see something. And pain is a good understanding of that. It is a fundamental natural law of the universe that anything good is preceded by pain of some sort. And the pain is an invitation to look at the reality of what's happening without judgment. That is not what we want as human beings. And that's why a lot of people never succeed, because they shut that down. The minute they feel uncomfortable, they're looking for certainty. And if you have certainty, you shut down the growth opportunities.
This is almost like the evolution of man, and reminds me of the classic definition of the Roman patrician was, they didn't do any work, they sought out excellence. They would work in the field. So it's not as if they wouldn't do work. They could work in the field, but it was excellence that they were chasing. So the crop would be the best, or the conversation would be the best. They became the Romans became politicians, and the concept was that they would be the civil servant that would provide the best. So it's in at least, in concept, they were seeking the best. And that's what this is, seeking the best within us, constantly seeking the best. And when you get to a particular level, there's always another level to get to. You're never perfect. I mean, obviously. So it's a never ending type of a situation, which is highly satisfying because every time you reach another level, you're like, hey, I did that. Yay.
Why does this work so well? And you just nailed it. I love what you just said. And the reason you're right is biology. So there's two great people that I follow that explain this from totally different worlds. So Sadhguru, the Indian mystic, and Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater, a hedge fund investor, the largest in the world, who wrote a great book called Principles, said exactly the same thing. So what they're saying is we can speed up our own evolution. Mm. We are not subject to having I don't know this for sure, but we probably think animals do not speed up their own evolution. It just kind of happens through adaptability for survival. It's not the way it works with human beings. We can evolve ourselves because we can decide what we're going to think and the actions we're going to take. This works because it fits with the principles of evolution, which is part of the design of the universe. Things are created in a way, I don't understand it. I just know it's true because I've experienced it and have profound insights. I've had profound insights about it, is when you make these changes to really become yourself, you create an evolutionary moment. And that's what the universe wants you to do. And that's why on the other side of the pain, the first order consequence or second, third, fourth order consequences of fantastic, I'm moving closer to what I really want.
It's a very nice place to end this conversation. on a definition.
We could go on forever, Joy, and we do sometimes.
On the definition of woo-woo itself, let's take our evolution into our own hands and finally do it. That's the ultimate woo-woo. I mean, really. And I'm all for it. If I wanted to become a professional bicycle rider and take it on the road, if that's what I really want to do, I can figure out a way to do it. That's a solopreneurship. If I could really figure it out, if I could figure out how to make the money, figure out how to find the people that I need around me, figure out all the little pieces to do it, I could do it.
And the world may never award you anything for learning how to do that or being a 5'6", 6-year-old basketball player or whatever, because you want to be a basketball player. But what you can do is spend all your time on it if that's what you really want to do and become significantly better at it than you are now. Anybody can do that. And for some people, that's the choice.
Right.
Maybe they got plenty of money and it doesn't matter.
Right. Well,
or they figure out a way to make money doing
that's
it.
That's what I'm saying. You figure out a way. Yeah. There's a niche there. There is a need for almost everything.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right? That doesn't mean you're going to become a millionaire, but there's a niche for almost everything. And if your skills, what we've been saying all along is we all have unique skills, we all have unique characteristics. So if we take those and enterprise on them ourselves, they're ours, enterprise on them, continue to grow them, find our boundaries, decide is this going to make me so uncomfortable that I'm going to hate it? Well, therefore, no, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But find out our comfort zone, be able to continue to grow, determine I could do this because I enjoy it so much that and it's worth a little bit of pain to, learn something else and become even better. I want to do this. At that point, you've become a solopreneur. Obviously, you need to make money. We're not talking about millionaires. We're talking about people that are trying to enterprise on their unique skill set that no one else has, whereby there is no competition.
That's right. Yeah, the first place we always start with, the first place I always start with, and I've learned this over time because I didn't always do it this way, is how do you make the most money as fast as possible, um, and have that work. So you're going to have to make some compromises sometimes, but you want to make as few as possible. But without the money, nothing else works. You have to be able to make money.
Well, I think that's a fair exchange. It's some people are going to make millions, and some people are going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily. This is not about making millions, although some people may. This is really about a priceless priceless lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
That the next person, not only the next person can't duplicate, but the next person needs to create on their own.
Yeah, the millions comes from a principle around your compensation is determined based on how many people you add value to.
Right.
And that scalability is possible as a solopreneur, or it requires solopreneur plus approach.
Right.
So it can be done,
right.
But if the desire is there to do that, you can do it. But the sacrifices may be more considerable in terms of you have to go through even more pain to be able to do it. But if you want those millions, it's even more painful to have 5 clients and make a okay living. Because you're like, oh my God, I always thought I could be this, have this kind of a company, and you gave up on it. Well, you shouldn't have given up. Work towards it.
Where can people find you on the web?
So the best place to find us is at GoSoloInc.com. And what we have available is membership in what we call our virtual campus, which gives you membership in our weekly Exponential Growth Mastermind group, as well as access to the virtual campus library and what we call a help request line, where when you get stuck with anything, you enter a help request. Think about it as like an IT trouble ticket, and I'm there and I'm responding and monitoring that all day long. And then we also offer a free workshop every Thursday where we brainstorm and work through revenue growth principles and opportunities for people.
Sounds very exciting. And I'm excited. Thanks so much, Larry.
Thanks, Joy. I love what you're doing. It's so exciting. I'm really happy for you that I know this means something to you. You're really bringing a lot to the world by doing this. It's fantastic.
I know I'm doing it because it's all very painful.
That's right.
Have a great weekend, Larry. Take care.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.